on bottom of Mem Vav Beis, 2 dots, right? Bottom line. So again, we're talking about the story with Elisha. So when Elisha came to Yericho had a water supply issue, not a supply issue. They had a water contamination issue, I guess is what it would be called. And they couldn't learn. They couldn't eat properly, couldn't drink properly. So Elisha came, healed the waters. On his way out, the water carriers, who the Gemara refers to, that the pasuk refers to as Narim, as kids, yelled at him because he now lost them he made them lose their parnasim because they were importing the water and now they lost that business. So he turned around and cursed them, and he said that, and then the forest got built, and then bears came out of the forest and ate up these kids, right? So we're continuing with that story. So two bears came out of the forest, and they literally means, and they broke 42 kids. Yeah, so what is this? Rav Shmuel had a machlokes.
Why did it have to be 2 bears? Because 1 bear would have been enough.
Yes, good question.
You shouldn't eat alone.
What?
You should never eat alone. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, what do you want from a guy who's rak hanimo l'shmeina?
He said you shouldn't eat alone. That's why there were 2 bears.
Yes, okay, yeah, all right. I'm not going to continue the corniness, but I could say that I could be Maisif, that we said yesterday you shouldn't leave the city alone. Right?
I remember when who used to call him that too.
Oh yeah,
right, Rachamim?
Yeah. But anyways, okay. So Rav Shmuel, Chad Omar Nes, Chad Omar Nes Besoich Nes. One says it was a nes, and one says it was a nes within a nes, right? Which I don't understand. Does that mean 2 nisim? Chayra, right? Yeah. So Mandamar nes Yarhu. There was a forest. Doivim loyhavu. So there were no bears in the forest. So it was 1 nes that there were bears. Bears appeared. Mandamar nes b'seich nes lo yarhu lo yarhava, but lo doivim hava. There was no forest and there was no bears. So basically, his nes is that the forest was created and the bears were created. So Gemara asks, so once they're doing that, why can't you just have bears? Why do you need a forest? Right? So the Gemara answers the Be'isi, because they were scared. The bears were scared. Right? So since they were scared, they needed a place to hide, the way Rashi says it. They needed a place to hide. Yeah? So then the obvious kasha is, why did they have to be, if he was already creating a nace, why couldn't, this is sort of like Rachamim was asking, they're creating a nace, so then why couldn't he just create bears that are not scared? Right? No? I mean, it's pretty pasha the kasha. So the answer is based on, we had this question before, that Hashem is still going to try and conceal the nace in regular nature as much as he could. So to make a bear that's not scared of people, so then that's already strange. So therefore, you have to make it the most realistic as possible. Fine. So Rav Chanina, here's another difficult Gemara to understand. Because of the 42 karbanos that Balak, brought, so Hufku mi Yisrael Arba Shnaim Yiladim. That's why it was there was broken. 42 kids from Klal Yisrael were taken in Elisha's days, right? Meaning that was a schar. That's what the Gemara is saying, right? This is a schar Hashem because Balak brought up 42 karbanos. Memela Hashem gave him schar, and 42 neshamas were taken from Klal Yisrael. I don't know how many years later. That was the schar. I mean, it sounds very difficult. Very difficult.
Why all of these schars for the goyim were A, purely physical, and B, they ended up being brachas for Klal Yisrael, or for the people involved. These 42 neshamas that were taken, Elisha had already said he saw that nothing good would ever come out of them. So better to take them now than after they've done more bad.
No, correct. But the mice, to make it sound like that was his schar.
Has anybody ever heard of tshuva? We've been learning Musa for 2 years. Has anybody ever heard of tshuva?
What, from the boys?
Yeah.
No, we never got up to the tshuva part yet.
All right.
That's true.
I skipped ahead.
It's a very, very, very
They certainly never got up to tshuva.
Okay, so Gemara says, "Any, it's not true." I mean, the kasha gets even stronger from the next Gemara. A person should always be busy with Torah mitzvahs, even if it's shalai lishma. Why? As a schar for the 42 karbanas, zachav yatzah mimenu rus an yana diyayma sheyatzah mimenu shloima sheksiv bay elef oilis yala shloima. Shloima brought up 1,000 oilis. Right? B'amar Rabbi Yosef ben Chayni rus bita shel egloin b'nai shel balak.
1 second. By this it says schar, but by the 42 children it doesn't say schar. It says b'shvila boy mishnayim karbanos. It doesn't say schar.
Okay, I hear.
But by here it's saying specifically, it is saying schar.
That's a fair point. I don't know what else the Gemara means if it doesn't mean schar, but you're right. It's not calling it schar. But what? Okay, but the Gemara, yeah. So the Gemara's question though is, you see that he did get schar, like legitimate schar. Which, by the way, we had this in whatever Masechta it was that we learned. When did we learn? Nazir. When did we say about Rus being the Einikel? Yeah? So it doesn't mean she was, because from the Gemara, it sounds like she was a granddaughter of Balak. She was not a granddaughter of Balak. It was many, many generations later. They're just calling her a granddaughter. Anyways, whatever it is, so meaning he already, what's the Gemara's kasha here? So that, not that his schar was that 42 Yidden died because as his schar was that he had major people come out of him. So what are you saying here? So what answers, I mean, David's question aside, it's very nice that he was zeicher to have great grandchildren, but his taiva was to curse the Yidden and for them to be annihilated. So Mela, because of that, he got the schar. Right now, does that come out that if a guy asks if he could daven for his sports team, if that's what you want your schar for, you might say Hashem doesn't want you to go to sports, so why would he let you daven for it? From here, it's mashma that if you do good, Hashem will reward you with even things that are neged Yiddishkeit. Am I flying off the handle with that?
No, I mean,
it's not
it could be in that sense, David is correct. It didn't call it schar, but since he did close with those 42 karbanas, so there were two separate parts. What he wanted, the Eibishter can come true for some reason, whatever the Eibishter's cheshbon is. But insofar as schar, he brought karbanas. Every tefillah has an outlet. That's rus. That was the opposite of what he wanted.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but the Gemara is looking for tirutzim. Why it was a schar for Balak that 42 Yidden were killed.
So I think that's what I'm saying. I think David's diak is correct. It's not schar. It's a natural outcome.
Well, I mean,
the klal is a klal. He made a klal. The purpose of the 42 karbanos was klal.
Right.
So there's a natural consequence to klal. Something comes out.
You mean stop.
Abraham made it come out in this way.
You're saying 1 + 1 = 2. Bottom line, if a man has a power to curse, he curses. That's how you're saying.
Yeah.
I hear. Okay. It's still a kasha. I mean, it's still a kasha. I mean, Hashem allows the guy to have the power to be makalal his people.
So it could, in a sense, if these 42 were people who nothing good was to them and nothing good would ever come out of them, even that ended up being a bracha. They were taken before they could do anything bad. They were an aron.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe. I don't have any other pshat there. So Fine.
See, Yaakov, you're saying
Yeah.
that there's something wrong with sports. Is that what you just said?
No, I'm saying if you go to a fruma Paisik, right, and say to him, "Can I daven that my sports team?" I get this question all the time, right? I imagine in Lakewood they're not getting this question too often, right? Or maybe they are, maybe they're not. New Lakewood, old Lakewood, whatever, right? Can I daven for a sports team? Sounds like even if you're going to say that the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't like sports, which I'm not so sure, but let's say that the Rebbeinu Shalom says sports is against the Torah. So what? So what? If that's what you want, your schar isn't they?
See, Yaakov, the Tish that's from, so his father and his uncle owned hundreds and hundreds of movie theaters. That's where they made their first money, right? And then in later years, they bought half of the Giants from the Mara family.
Right.
And from his money, he printed half of the Shas. No. So
I hear. Okay. But that's the question is, what's his schar going to be from that? Maybe he'll own more football teams and more movie theaters. That right. I'm saying that's what comes out, that the Rebbeinu would say, "Oh,
we had the schus to put up big money for the art scroll."
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah, I think if I went to ask a Rav, though, I'd be more worried about his answer is going to be, "Yeah, Balak did it." I mean, what? That's the Goy Saraya.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, the Gemara likes to bring rayas from Shkotzim. No,
right,
the Gemara enjoys it. The Hachta couple Nebuchadnezzar, who was Hitler, and they bring, whoa, Nebuchadnezzar, Gewalt.
Right.
I'm asking him. I'm saying I'm on the same page as you. I understand it just as much. Therefore, I'd be worried about the Rav bringing him the raya.
Listen,
the Gemara is one thing.
Tosfos says from Balak that you know that as long as you start davening before this man, you can continue after this man, right? Because from Balak? Because his curse, right? Because his curse couldn't have lasted a fraction of a second. Elamai, as long as you start the curse before, you can continue cursing, right? Okay, so from that we learn out that you can daven mincha, but as long as you get it in before shki, you're good to go, right? Okay, whatever it is, fine. Let's go back because you got more interesting things. Fine. They said our city is great, right? So I'm going to ask the Mayim Roim, but Eretz I don't know, it's Mishakelas, right? If it's the bad, it's bad water. Why are they happy to live there? The water is bad, right? And people are dying. Eretz Mishakelas. I don't know exactly the word Mishakelas. What exactly how you touch that word? What the okay, but whatever. It means a bad place. Right? So what's good about living there? So Rav Chanan, Chain Makam al Yoshua. No, people have chain. The town has chain. When they say a charming town, it can mean it's only charming for the people that actually live there. Everybody else may not agree that it's a charming town. So they thought it's Gevaldik, even though they couldn't drink and the place people died. Right. So
here's another name. A name for the Gemara. Amar Rav Chanan Chain.
Oh, very good. Very good.
That's why people stay living in New York. You know, they can't drink the water, they can't breathe the air, but they stay anyway.
You can't find parking.
I know it's a parking, and it takes you an hour to get 20 miles away.
100%. 20 miles away is more longer than an hour, Rachman. That's the old.
Whatever. You get to Brooklyn is a half an hour, 45 minutes.
You're 100%. Rachman, it's an hour to Brooklyn now at the minimum, but you're 100% right. Yeah, fine. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shleisha Chinas Hain. There's 3 chains, right? Chain Makam al Yoshvav, like we just said. The place is going to always have chain people that live there.
Chain inside it.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Chain Isha al Baila. There's the chain of a woman onto her husband, and chain Mekach al Mikray, and somebody who buys something has an automatic chain to it. So it's almost like chain means look. What is chain? Other than in Shidduchim, right? So, I mean, we know what chain means in Shidduchim. It means, right, stay away.
You don't want to say, right, exactly. You don't want to say Lashon Hara.
Right. So.
And that's pretty much what it means here.
Exactly. So now we're saying that there's a chain, but does that mean that this is this is coming from the Rebbeinu Shalom, or is this a psychological thing that whoever I marry, I'm going to think is great. Wherever I buy, I think it's great. Meaning, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Meaning, I thought it was great, that's why I married it. I thought I liked this thing, so I bought it.
What they say, beauty is in the eye of the holder.
We have a Gemara that compares how you're supposed to dance in front of a machlokes, and it says you bought something.
In Ksubis, yeah, that's how we paskin like this. The Maisa we paskin like this. That's why you
compares to or buying something. You don't want to go bad. You don't want to go tell him that he bought something bad, right? We had a Gemara like that.
Right.
They compares it also over there.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, like Avi, stop talking about the cloth, okay, Avi?
Yeah. But. I'm saying that it can't be that. It can't be like what Racham was saying, eyes and the beauties in the eyes of the beholder, because that's a normal thing.
It's also only skin deep.
That's true, but it has to be this has to be something more I want to say deeper. It has to be deeper than that. No?
When you buy a diamond, you don't appreciate it right away. You have to look at it. You have to appreciate it. Takes time, but then you'll appreciate it more.
So the Marsha says pshat. He says, like we said yesterday, Adam Arishan was nigzar on all the places where they're going to be settled, and he says, "What do you mean? A person's shidduch is determined from before, right?" So, but Hashem puts in a chain that makes it that there's a connection there, right? And the same thing with the object. So where Marsha is understanding it, it's more a supernatural thing than it is a natural thing. It's a more supernatural thing, right? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Tanu Rabbanan. Shloisha chalayin chala Elisha. Another difficult Gemara to understand. Elisha got sick 3 times. Echad shegera duben betinaikas, because he put the bears onto these kids. Because he pushed Gechazi away with both hands. And one he died from. So he was sick 3 times. Right? The last one did him in. But he had the sickness that he died. So we see that there were other sickness that he had that he didn't die. Right? So fine. So I mean, it's okay. Even the Gedolim, they do something wrong and they're going to get punished. That's there's no 2 ways around it. So I mean, he probably had good reasons why he wanted these guys to die. The Gemara said all the justifications yesterday. Why is he getting punished for that? Right? Okay, I don't know. Tanu Rabbanan, small daichli v'yamin mekareves. Right? Famous. Right? Nary a Torah Masorah convention goes by without this line being said, right? The left hand should push them away, and the yamin has to be mekarev. Like Elisha, shadachol gechazi b'shtei yadayim, not like Elisha who pushed the gechazi away from him with 2 hands, but like Yeshua ben Prachia, shadachol le'echad mitalmidov b'shtei yadav, that he pushed one of his talmidim with 2 hands. If you look at the Masaras Hashas, the little ches there, so it says that this Talmud that it's referring to is Yeshu HaNoitzri, right, which is otherwise known as Yoshka. But I think we need Shmuley Sugar for this here. Historically, this could not have been Yoshka, right? There's 2 Yoshka.
Rabbi Rosner said it was a different one.
Yeah, I think historically he said it's a different one. Yeah. Right?
I heard today a pshat that there was a line of Yeshua Noitzris. A line of, they all had the same name. They were all from Nazareth or whatever. And this was the first. The last one was what we call Yashua.
Uh-huh. I hear.
He wasn't born again. It's just different people.
Yeah, that's one
Very
of the things
good,
they
Parrots.
said. It may have led into the rumor.
Excellent. Somebody, only your kids home, so somebody should smack you for that. But there's no, you're not in the house with anybody.
Nah, Parrots, I give you 10 points for that.
That was part of the shot that he said.
Give him a frost for that. You don't give him 10 points for that.
Anyways,
Aaron, please mute Parrots. Please mute him.
Anyway, so okay. Yeah, but even though the story that's normally said about Yashka is the story that the Gemara is saying here, right? The story that everybody, okay, let's get to it. So what's the story with Elisha first? Elisha Mahi, Tesiva Yomer Naaman Hayol Kach Kikrim. So Naaman said, come here and take the Kikrim, the gold. Basically what happened is that Naaman had Saras, and Elisha came and healed him. So Naaman wanted to pay him, and Elisha said, no, thank you, and he left. And then his Talmud, Gechazi, sounds like his Gabbai, Talmud, whatever it is, Ben Bayis, Heisbacher, whatever it was, all the above. So he took the money. He took the money. Unter and Tish, he took the money, right? I guess it doesn't, maybe things don't change by Gabbayim from Rebbe's. Yeah, Zev, that was for you, Zev.
We had it before, no?
What?
We had a Gemara where the Gabbai took for the Rebbe or something.
I don't remember. But anyway, so Gechazi did this, and he got. But the problem is that Elisha found out. Right, and he said to him, was I not with my heart not with you when you turned away from the chariots of this person who came to call you? And now you took money and clothing and olives and vineyards and sheep and cattle and avodim and shvachas. Now he didn't take all that. Right? He took much less. Did he take that many things? All he took was clothing and money. So why does it say that whole list of things, which happens to be 8 things? Elisha was learning Perek Shemona Shratzim, which again, your kasha should be, Perek Shemona Shratzim wasn't created for hundreds of years later, right? It wasn't. Yes, Elamite, Rebbe didn't make the prokim. That's what you have to say. Meaning, Rebbe just wrote them down. Okay, that's another kasha. It means a Rebbe was just. I mean, Rebbe Rebbe we say is the one that wrote it down. So it must be that there were prokim before he wrote it down. That's right. There were sugyas and prokim, and he wrote it.
Doesn't say it is a Perek Shemona Shratzim. It says he was learning Shemona Shratzim. They got the Torah ready, so he's learning Shemona Shratzim.
You're saying it was just a subject matter, and then they made it into a perek. You're saying, okay, that's fair enough.
What Rashi seems to be saying. Shemona Shratzim, the Perek Shemona Shratzim. He was learning the sugi of Shemona Shratzim, which is in Perek Shemona Shratzim.
Oh, so I would maybe say a diak fakert, that it was Perek Shemona Shratzim. But I could hear both ways. So anyway, so Amar Loi, so he said to him, Elisha said to him, Rasha Higia Eis Lito Schar Shemona Shratzim. The time came that you should take the schar of Shemona Shratzim, meaning you're taking, Rashi says, he's taking the schar of his Torah that he learned in Olam Hazeh, right? Which is pretty scary. It's pretty scary, right? That means you get a prize or a koil guy that's taking money for learning and he's taking his schar in Olam Hazeh, right? Or you get a prize for learning or whatever all these things are. Okay, however you understand pshat in that. But Tsaras, Naaman, Tidbak Bach was Zaracha La'olam. And then he gave him a curse. And he said that the Tsaras that went to Naaman, that was from Naaman and was taken away from Naaman, should go on to Gechazi for him and his kids forever, which basically means that they're no longer part of Klal Yisrael. He threw them out of Klal Yisrael because a Mitzayra can't, not only can a Mitzayra go into Klal Yisrael, a Mitzayra can't even have a relationship with another Mitzayra. Right? So he basically bounced him. So that was pretty strong. So that wasn't being doichim with the left hand and being makarvim with the right hand. That was being doichim with both hands. Right? And 4 people were Mitzrayim. Right? Fine. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Zu Gechazi b'shloisha banav. That's Gechazi and his 3 kids. Fine. Then Vayelech Elisha Damesek. Now it's interesting because the pasuk doesn't say Vayelech. Right? If you look on the side, it's Vayavai Elisha. So Vayava Elisha Damascus, Lama Halach, where did he go? He went to get Gehazi to do tshuva. V'loy Chazar, and Gehazi did not do tshuva. Amrloi Chazar bach, he go back and do tshuva. Amrloi Kachmul Gulanim Imcha. So Gehazi told Elisha, this is what I was makavim you. Call me shachatav v'echti asaram. If you do a chet and you cause the public to also do a chet, ein maspikim v'yad elas tshuva. We don't allow him to do tshuva. And he already caused the rabbim to do chet. My avad, what did he do? He took a evan she'eves, which means a magnet basically, and he put it over the cow, right? Of the Yeravam, right? Made his own cow as an avodah zarah. So what he basically did was put a magnet on it, and put magnets above it, and made it look like it's floating in the air, so it had some holiness to it. And he stood it up between the heavens and the earth. So Memela, that caused people to believe more in this avodah zarah, and he caused many people to be avodah zarah. So he can't do tshuva from that. He put into the mouth of this golden calf. He put the first two of the Seres Hadibris in it to make it look like it was a god. And others say that he was pushed off the Rabbanon from Elisha. Why? The place that we're sitting now, Sham, the Fanecha Tsar Mimenu. It's too tsar. It's too
narrow.
No, too narrow. Thank you. Too narrow. Meaning they ran out of room in his yeshiva. So until now, it wasn't pushing. It wasn't narrow, right? So what Rashi says is Gehazi was in charge of acceptance for his yeshiva, and he was very picky. So many people were turned away from the yeshiva, so they didn't learn. Right now that Gehazi was gone, so then there came an open door policy. So there were many more people learning. So that was Gehazi's chet, that he made people not learn. Okay, so those yeshivas that are picky ought to learn this Gemara a little bit and see what it comes out from, to see what they get from that. Right?
We have that already. Didn't we have that for the famous Gemara we just finished with? The day that they allowed everybody in.
Well, that's different than Gemara and Brachas, yes. Yeah, but those are two different Mahalchim, yeah.
We also had it recently.
Naftali, you might as well start saying the Tefillah Shema now because you've learned everything already. So,
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Yeshua ben Prat, well, those that didn't get their kids into the yeshivas maybe should say the Tefillah Shema. Right? Maybe. Okay. Anyways, Yeshua
I don't want to say Lashon Hara, but this is a very Lakewood Gemara. The whole thing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeshua ben Prach, you're making Zebol very nervous, Yeah. Yeshua ben Prach Mahi. What's Yeshua ben Prach? What is his story? So Yanai wanted to be, he was the king. He also wanted to be the kohen. We had that a bunch of weeks ago. Right? And his wife, he was the brother-in-law of Shimon ben Shetach. So what he did is the Rabbanon decided that he couldn't be kohen gadol, so he just killed them all. So when Yanai was killing the Rabbanon, Shimon ben Shetach at Minhu Achse, so Shimon ben Shetach, his sister, who was Yanai's wife, hid him. And Shimon ben Prachya ran to Alexandria in Mitzrayim. If you have a Shalma, when it became peaceful, Shalach le Shimon ben Shetach, so Shimon ben Shetach sent him a letter. Mini Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh Loch Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. Right, from me that's in Yerushalayim Ir HaKodesh to you who's in Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. Achoisi Bali Shori B'Seichi Vani Yesheves Shemema. My Achoisi Bali means my sister. The sister, my master is living by you, and I'm sitting here doing it by myself. Right? Basically, what he's saying is that I have nothing. I have nobody to talk to. I have nothing here. So Amar Shmamino Havale Shama. He says, it must be peaceful there, and I can go back. That's what Yeshua ben Prachya says. So he also Ikla Lu Ushpiza. When he was coming, he went to Ushpiza to a hotel. Come out, B'Yakra Shapir, and they stood up in front of him with good yakra means with chashivas, right? They gave him a lot of respect. Avdi le yakra tuva, and then they gave him they continued to give him a lot of respect. So Yosef became a shtabach kama no achsan yizu. So he sat and he said, "How great, how beautiful is this achsanya?" Meaning the woman who ran the hotel. So Amarle echad mitalmidah, one of his talmidim said, "Rebbe, ain't now trutais. Her eyes are round, which we had previously. I think maybe in Yavamas, Ksubas, round eyes were ugly back then. I don't know what they are now." So he made a comment like, "How
Lashon Hara?"
It was Lashon Hara, but
okay,
yeah, it was Lashon Hara. But this guy wasn't. This was Yeshu. I mean, we don't know which Yeshu, but right. So Amarle Russia, Bekachat Isaac, Russia. That's what you're being Isaac with. Like Rashi says, you're looking at Ishas Ish. Apik Arba Meya Shpurei B'Shamsa. He took out 400 shayfras and he put them in Chayrim. Kol Yom Asal Kamei V'Loi Kivle. So, and every day he would come back to do tshuva, and Rabbi Shua ben Prachia wouldn't take him. Yom Echad have a Kari Kriya Shema. One day he was reading Kriya Shema. Asal Kamei, and he came back. Have a B'Daiti L'Kvulim. Rabbi Shua ben Prachia said he's going to be Makabelim. Achvale B'Yodeh, and he made a sign with his hand. Sover Mad Chadachile. He thought that he was pushing him off again, so then he gave up. Azal Zokaf Levenza Palcha. He went and he put a brick on. He stood up a brick, and that made into an avodah zarah. So I don't know if that's the beginning of a cross. I don't know, right? So Amalei Chazarbach. So he went to him. Rabbi Shua and Bracha said, "Do tshuva." Amalei Kachmu Mikublani. This is what I accept from you. Kol Achaytu Machdi Etzadavim. Ein Maspikim V'Yodei Lasses Tshuva. Anybody who causes others to do averis, there's no tshuva. Damar Mar. Kishif, if you do kishif, what do you call kishif? The heebie-jeebie stuff, right? The hissis v'hidiach, v'hichtias Yisrael, and you cause people to turn away and be literally means washed away from Klal Yisrael, v'hichtias Yisrael. So, meaning that's what he did, right? So Mamela, he caused so many people to go off the derech, so he couldn't do tshuva either. Right? Now we know that there is such a concept of tshuva for everything, right? Everything could have tshuva. So what does the Gemara mean here? That l'chayra means, I forgot where I saw this, but probably in an article in the footnote or something that that it means that
Hashem,
no, it means you could do tshuva, but it's extremely difficult to do the tshuva. That's what it means. It means it's possible.
Death.
You just well, death is mechaper and everything, yeah. So Tanya, Rav Shimon ben Elazar, Aimer Yetzer Tinoik Visha, major rule here in this crazy world that we live in, right? It says the Yetzer Hara for znus, and a Tinoik, meaning when dealing with a child, and Isha dealing with a woman, to hey small doicha v'yamin mekareves, the left hand should be pushed. You can push them away, but you have to be mekarev them at the same time. Now, what this means is the Yetzer Hara for znus is that if a person gets too frum with the I mean, it's obviously talking about somebody who's married who gets too frum in the area of intimacy, let's call it that, then that could be very much the Yetzer Hara, because if you push it away and you don't acknowledge that such a thing exists, then you could actually cause more damage. Right? And the same thing with dealing with a child. You push them too hard and you can send them away. Right? And with a wife, the same thing. Right? That's one of the more difficult things, is to know the balance of all these things. Very difficult. Okay. Next Mishnah. Now we're back to
that's why you have to have more than one wife. You push one, bring the other one close.
I don't think that's what it means, Rachman, but
Rachman, where do you come up with these things?
He's looking for
Zev, I didn't know you were here, Zev. Sorry.
Woodburn. He comes up with them in Woodburn.
Because he had a great chavrusa, that's why.
You know what?
It's the same shita he had before. Gemara uses the lashon achila for tashmish, so the same as he had before. Don't eat by yourself.
Listen, he has a lot of fresh air up there. He does. It's good. Anyway.
Up where?
Yeah. Okay. Zok the Mishnah. Yeah, back to Egla Rufa. So Nimtza. So we said that you have to find the Egla Ruf is pshat that you find a dead body. Nobody has any idea where it came from, what happened, who killed it, nothing. We don't know anything, right? It's an unsolved murder. So Nimtza Hayrek, let's say they found the guy that killed him. Actually, Nerfa Egla, but they found the guy before they cut the neck of the calf. Teitze v'tira be'eder. So then it goes out and it grazes in the flock, meaning there's no kedusha to it, right? Because meaning there was kedusha to it, like we learned yesterday. You can't do any malacha with it, but here it was a mistaken kedusha because the guy that killed the person was found. So there was no reason for there to be a kapara for the whole town. So therefore, it's mistaken kedusha, and you can go back and use the cow. But misha nerfa egla. But what happens if they find the murderer only after they killed the calf? So tikvar b'makam, you still have to bury it in its place because once it was already killed, then it already provided a kapara. Why? Shall suffik basa mitchilasa. It came from a suffix. That's the reason why we brought it. And kifra sveika b'halchala. So it did its kapara for the suffix, and now it went, meaning it did its job. The cow did its job. At the time it was that its head was broken, its neck was broken, it was providing a kapara for the town. So it did that. Oh, later on it found that you didn't need the kapara to make a difference. It did its job when it did its job. So therefore you have to bury it.
It's still, since you have to bury it, sounds like it's still asa b'hana. But it might be it's not asa b'hana because now you found the even though it's dead, but now you found the murderer. So maybe it doesn't have that last last chumrah of being asa b'hana.
Well, then why do you have to bury it?
Yeah, so that's I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah, so it sounds like it still has it since it still has its kedusha. Yeah, l'chara. Nerpa egla. But let's say they cut the neck v'achrach nimtza ha'hayrig, and then they found the ha'hayrig. So this is the same case as the previous case. So ha'hayrig nimtza ha'hayrig hareza yerag. Then don't think that the murderer gets off the hook. Says, well, why does a guy get killed if he kills to get a kapara? So you say, I already got a kapara because this thing was killed as a representation of the town. So you say, no, he has to get killed anyways. This is not a cop-out for him. Meaning, the guy that killed thinks, okay, I just won't come forward till they kill the calf. Now we have a kapara and I'm going to be scot-free. Doesn't work like that. Fine. If one says that I saw him kill, no, you didn't. Right? One woman says she saw it, and her friend says, no, you didn't. Are you orphan? Then we don't believe the second witness. And Memela, we don't believe either one of them. Memela, we look at it as if nobody saw the death, and you kill the animal. But if one witness said he saw it, two said, no, you didn't. Are you orphan? Right? Then they would do it because we go with the two. Two said they saw, and one said you didn't see. You are because again we go. We're going to go with the two, right? And Mamela, once there's people that see that they saw somebody actually murder this person, then the egla roof is out. Fine. Once murder became so widespread, so then they mevatel it. Yeah, Mishaba. Meaning there's no more egla rufa. We'll see in the Gemara why. Mishaba Eliezer ben Dinai, when Eliezer ben Dinai came, the Tchina ben Prisha, his name was Tchina ben Prisha. He was called Tchina ben Prisha. I mean, he was a murderer from like from the the Wild West. He was a known murderer. So Chazur Lekroisei ben Arach Ratzon. Then after that, so he really had three names. His real name was Eliezer ben Dinai. The nickname was Tchina ben Prisha, and then they just started calling him the son of the murderer. So meaning it's just was showing that there was murderers around. So Misharovu Haminofim Pasku Amayim Amarim. This we've said before that once there was a lot of perversion. I think we said it before. Then the Mayim Hamarim, the Saita water, didn't work anymore because there was so much perversion that it couldn't. The Mayim Hamorim couldn't possibly work. For Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Hifsikon, right? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai.
What does this mean, Rabbi Yaakov?
Which part?
This whole thing. I mean, so the Rabbanim gave up. They just didn't take care of society. They said just go crazy. Like, what? Aren't they supposed to take care of these issues?
Yeah, but no, they weren't. The issue of Egla Rufa wasn't. Meaning, by definition, the Egla Rufa you can't do if
doing the Egla Rufa, getting rid of murderers, forgetting the Egla Rufa.
I mean, what I mean, Stam? Why couldn't they get rid of the murderers?
They're not taking care of society.
Yeah, I hear.
Sounds like today we have the same problem.
Well, great. Oh, so good. So the Rabbi Akiva is like Hokel and Biden. That's a great shvach for Rabbi Akiva. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Abba, why do you say that maybe it was the Goyim, the Kananim of the world?
What?
Maybe it was the Goyim and they couldn't have control over it.
What Goyim?
Maybe there were a lot of murderers that were Goyim running around.
That's why they quoted.
No,
why did they quote? Why did they quote the lucky? Why did they quote Meir Lansky? Why did the Gemara say Kala Gambino? It says Meir Lansky over here. It doesn't say Kala Gambino.
It doesn't say. It says when the rights were bottled. It doesn't say which ones.
Well, it named the Yiddish murderer.
It doesn't say Yiddish murderers.
Yeah, well, it gave his name.
When the number of murders,
we had it in Marcus. You had it in Marcus. You had it with a couple of the cities where right scheme. There's a lot of right scheme in there. So therefore, you see, they're not talking about Goyish murderers because we're talking about Ari Miklat. So we're all talking about.
When the world was full of murder, there was a lot of murderers, then maybe there was... but it can't be Goyim. It has to be... Meaning, the point... they must have... Chachamim just didn't have power, I guess. That's what you have to say. Anyways.
Dinoi is like a Greek name.
Who?
Dinoi. Eliezer ben Dinoi.
Yeah.
Greek names. What are you hacking me a cup?
He's saying deny from the word dig.
That means that everyone who had a Greek name was a Yid now? What are you trying to prove?
What are you trying to prove?
It could be he was Greek. You say it could be he was Greek. Yes,
I don't know.
And if his puppy had roller skates, she'd be a hockey player. No, what are you hacking me a cup?
That's a new one.
Okay, anyways, by the Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai of Sikkim, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai stopped it. Shenemar lo efkod al b'nai seichem ki siznenov al kalei seichem ki sanafana ki heim, and it's finished up because they're with Zionus. Ki heim, what does the pasuk say? Came ima Zionus yipardu v'makdeshis. Basically, the pasuk says that the kids and the daughters-in-law are being mazana. We'll see in the Gemara what that means. It's Mishmeis Yosi ben Yezer Ish Tzreid of Yosi ben Yehuda Ish Yerushalayim. When they died, right? These the Zugais Batlu Eshkailos, the Eshkol was Batul. We'll see in the Gemara what that means. Means Shanemar Ein Eshkol Lechol Bechayra Bikuram. Sorry, Ifsa Nafshi. Right? There's no Eshkols to eat, and the Nefesh wants anything that comes right. Meaning Eshkol basically means Gedolim, 5 tool players, right? The 5, they were the last. There's no more 5 tool players that are perfect. So Mela is Machlokes. Fine. Yochanan Kohen Gadol Hever,
Yaakov, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another extra Mashiach. You have Shohei Otani. He's a 6 tool player. Maybe that's.
Maybe. Right? But yeah, so Yochanan Kohen Gadol Hever Hodayas Amai. So Yochanan Gadol stopped to being Maidan Meiser, meaning when people gave you Meiser, there was a whole video to say that you gave Meiser. And Afu Batal as a Ma'irin, he was Mavatal Ma'irin, which means the people that used to go around and say Ha'aras, which we'll see in the Gemara what that is, Vesan Noikfin, and the people that would hit things, which we'll see also on Amid Beis. Now we'll see in the Gemara, and then on Amid Beis, Ad Yom Patish Mak Yishalayim, until his days, there would be hammers banging in Yerushalayim, right? And that's going to be on Chol Hamoed, right? And he stopped, meaning it was a dover of it that were necessary for Chol Hamoed, but he stopped it. And in his days, you didn't have to go ask your people that you were eating by whether they were mafresh on demai. Demai is vegetables, fruits. I'm sorry, that come from amaratzim, where they don't necessarily take off meiser. So since they don't necessarily take off meiser, so he was masakin. Everybody has to take off meiser. So you no longer have to ask anybody whether they take off or not. Okay, so Tana Rabbanan. So minayin shim nerfa agola ha'egla va'achakach nimtza ha'irek she'ein padjuno. So how do you know that if they snap the neck of the calf and then you find the murderer, that we don't make him potter? So meaning you're not going to make the land potter from the blood that was spilled there, except for the one who actually spilled the blood. Meaning, so even though there was a kapara for the town because they snapped the neck of this calf, but the bottom line is the murderer still has to be brought to justice. Right? Okay. One aide says he did see the killer and one says he didn't. All those scenarios. So time of the makhishle, the reason why he's not believed is because there's an aid that's makhish that says against him, haloi makhishle, aid echad mehemen. Mashma that if let's say, because the Mishnah again, it says one guy says, I saw the murder. Another guy says, no, you didn't. So we strike it from the record because they're conflicting. Right? It's mashma if nobody would have come to Bezdin except the first guy who said he saw the murder, then we would not shech the egla. So minani mili, how do you know that? The Tana Rabbanan lo noida miyuko. It says nobody knew who hit him, meaning who hit this dead person. Hanoida miyuko. But if they did know, afilu echad b'sayfa olam lo yoarfin. But if there's even one person in the world that knows who did the murder, then that's counts. Right? And Bemela, that's enough.
There's the one guy in cahoots with the egla.
Maybe.
Where the cow comes along and the cow says, I got a witness.
Yeah, okay. Anyways. Yeah, okay.
Well, what does B'Saifa Olam mean?
It doesn't, as
How
long
would we
as
know not to do the Egla Arufa?
You wouldn't know. But as long as if somebody says that I know that there's a guy, he left town, but he saw it. Right? He doesn't
even need to do the edus, but they just know that the guy exists.
Yes. I mean, you want a scenario? They find the body after 2 weeks, right? And a guy says, oh, a friend of mine told me he went on a business trip 2 weeks ago, but he told me that he saw a guy get murdered. He doesn't know what happened with the body. Then they discover the body. Right? So then they say, oh, okay. So then the guy's on the other side of the world. Anyways, Rabbi Kiva, how do you know that Sanhedrin that sees somebody kill, but they don't know who it is? Then in that case, they would not do the neck. We'd not do the neck of the agla. Our eyes don't see, and they did see, right? So therefore, it's going to be Rabbi Kiva saying that it would be potter. I mean, no egla rufa. So hashtadam, we're going to ask hashtadam at eid echad mehemen, but we said that an eid echad is believed. So again, what happens? The guy comes and he's trusted that he saw the guy get killed by somebody, right? So we believe him. Then comes along another aid, and he says, he didn't see it. So now we said it's not acceptable, but the can't be. We have a rule. Anytime the Torah says that one witness is believed, it's as if there's two Eidim here. And so now this new guy that comes, he's an Eid Echad against what's the equivalent of two Eidim, even though it was really one Eid against another Eid. But once the Torah says we believe one Eid, then that guy has the power of two Eidim. So how do you go believe another Eid against him? It shouldn't work. Now we have this exact Gemara 16 blot ago. I didn't understand it well then, and I don't understand it well now. It's quite technical, but it's mamash a repeat. It's very rare where you see in Rashi. Rashi says, we had this Gemara, and there's no difference here. Klum. Rashi says, Be'ena chaluka kan klum. So Mamela, that's why this daf is so big, Because if there was a lot of Rashis 15 blot ago, and they don't have to put it here. Rashi didn't write it here, so Mamela there's a lot more room for Gemara, right? But the daf would be shorter if not for Rashi saying Ayin Sham. Basically, is what Rashi said. Look over there, right?
Say really, the scene was supposed to be Thursday night.
Yeah, could be, right? Yeah, so Amalach Ula, Tani, Loyhay orphan. So Ula says, okay, so change the Mishnah, Paretz's favorite teretz, right? Change it. Instead of saying that they did orphan, that they did knock off the next, say it, they didn't do it. Tani, Loyhay orphan, right? They didn't do it. Reb Chia Amar, no, Reb Chia says, Tani, how you orphan. Fine, so the Gemara is, Reb Chia, Kasha de Ula, but according to Reb Chia, you have Ula's Kasha, which is that if he's believed, if that one aid is believed, so he's like two aidim. So one answers like Kasha, Kan bevasachas, kan bezeh achazeh. One is talking about at the same time, and one is talking zeh achazeh, meaning when both aidim come to Bezdin and toich kedei dibur, one says the testimony and the other one knocks it down, so then they can balance each other out. But with zeh achazeh, once with the testimony from the first guy is accepted, then enochanami, the second guy cannot come and knock him out. So Gemara asks, Tran. One guy says he saw it, in which case the cow would not be killed, and two say no, he didn't see it. How you orphan? Then they would do the egla rufa, right? Because two trumps one. Hachad v'chad, it's mashma. If it would be one-on-one, lo you orphan, they wouldn't do it. You have to do Reb Chia. It's a kasher Reb Chia who says that you would. So when I answer, well, to make a sefer, what about the sefer? You'll have the exact opposite. Two guys said they saw it. So therefore, they saw the murder. So therefore, the cow shouldn't be killed. One says you shouldn't. So lo you orphan, they don't trust that one, so they wouldn't kill the animal. Hachad v'chad you orphan, but if it would be one-on-one, they would kill. So what's going on here? Elam masnisen kula b'psulei edus. The whole Mishnah is talking about people, witnesses that are apostle edus. Ukadur Nechemia, and it's going with this rule of Rabbi Nechemia. Anytime the Torah believed in Eid Echad, halach achar roiv deis, you go with the roiv deis. Meaning, normally when you have two Eidim and you have against them 100 Eidim, we look at them like they balance it out. 200 not going to help you any more than two. You have two Eidim saying the guy did it, 100 saying he didn't do it, doesn't make a difference. The 100 doesn't knock out two. However you understand that. But when we're talking about people that are normally postulated and we trust them, then we do go with amounts, right? And so what happened here is you have two women against one man, and that would be the same thing as two men against one man, right? So we're going to always go with the majority, and that's it. Fine. Another version of this, Vigadamri. Whenever there's an Eid Echad, it's kosher me'ikara. Afilu me'en noshim ki echad damin. And even 100 women are looked at as one. What we're talking about here, going to asai isha me'ikara. Talking about a woman was the first Eid, right? And she said she knows who the murderer is. And then two Pasal Eidim came and said she doesn't know what she's talking about, right? The Tartzel, Nechemia, how do you answer Reb Nechemia? Whenever the Torah believes in Eid Echad, halach achar roiv deis, you go with the roiv of the deis, meaning the majority of the ones, whoever said what, it goes with the majority. Also, shtei nashim be'isha achas, and then we say two women is against one woman, and it's the same as kishnei nashim be'isha echad, like two men with one man. But two women against one man, that's like a split. That's like a split edus. Fine. Okay, so then the question becomes, we still don't know why we need two cases in the Mishnah. The Mishnah seems to be repetitive. You have two saying that he did it, that they saw the murder, and one saying that they didn't see it. Right? And then we have another case of two, one saying did and two not, meaning it's the same din. So why do you need it for both ways? Meaning in one case, the cow is going to be killed and the other place is not going to be killed. So now the same when do we go with roiv deis? L'chumra. We only go like that l'chumra, which would make, meaning we're going to go with it when we're going to kill the calf. Aval. L'kula loy, but if it's for a kula, we're not going to go with it. Kamash Malan, that we go with this rule of Pasala Edus both ways. Sai Lakula, Sai Lachumra. Fine, let's do a little bit more. Misharabu Araitzin. So we said, well, once the Reitzin became widespread, so they no longer killed the calf. So Tanar Rabbanan Misharabu Haraitzchanin, Bat Legla Rufa. Why? Lefishaina Ba Ella Al Hasafik. Why are you bringing Egla Rufa? Because there's a suffix. We have no idea how this guy died. Misharabu Araitzchanin, but once the murderers were widespread, Begoli Batla Begoli, right? So then people that killed Begoli openly, Batla Egla Rufa, it's Batla because there's no longer a suffix. Meaning, if all of a sudden, if you have a quiet, peaceful town, right? They always say all these big murders, all these murder cases, it was a quiet, peaceful town, and all of a sudden somebody died. So then that's when you need Egla Rufa, because it's a weird thing and nobody has any idea what happened. But once the town turns into, oh, there's a dead body in the town, oh, that's normal. Then that's no longer eligible for Egla Rufa. Right? Fine. So when the Munavalim became more popular, so therefore they stopped with the drinking of the Saitas. And the man is going to be potter from his Aveira. Right? What does this mean? When the man is clean from Aveiras, meaning the husband, so the wife, meaning as long as he behaves, his wife, the water will test her properly. But when the man is not clean from Aveiras, then the water is not going to check into his wife. And then it says, so when it says this pasuk where the kids are also going to be promiscuous and the daughters are going to be promiscuous, so my vaymer, what does it mean vaymer? Maybe you think that only if the husband misbehaves and is promiscuous, then the water is not going to test his wife. But if his kids are promiscuous, so what should that affect? So Tashema lo yafkir al b'nesechem ki saznena v'al kalesechem ki sanafena, that v'chitem avayin eshes ish in avayin de pnuya loy. And if you're going to say, okay, so that's only the water is not going to test her only if there was an aveira of eshes ish. But if there was an aveira of a single girl, meaning single people messing around, maybe that's not enough to make the mother's water not work. So Tashema. It goes with Zainas and with Kadeshis. So meaning, and Zainas is referring to single girls, right? My Vimla Yavin, you love it. And those that don't understand will trip up. So if you're going to be makbid on yourselves, if you're going to be makbid to behave yourself in the promiscuity department, so then the water will test your wife. So then, if not, then the mayim will not check out your wife. So basically, once there's a lot of znus, the water do not work for the zayna, for the wife. And once there's a lot of people that are being mazana, so the assumption is that the test is not going to work anyway, so they stopped administering it. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I know it's a little early, but I got a daven ma'ariv now, so as late as I am for that. But anyways, okay, continue this tomorrow. Bez Hashem, we'll catch it up tomorrow, or the next day. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have yourselves a fine night.
Have a good night.
Okay. All right. Good night.